the Rey movie, which just like when the news came out that the writer had left and it got obviously bumped from the release schedule, you saw so many of these people going out claiming it's canceled, it's canceled, it's canceled. And I said, I feel like it's a little premature. I feel like they're going to do everything in their power to make sure this happens in some way, shape, or form with the director they have on board, with Daisy Ridley being on board, with all these things. And sure enough, here we are. A new writer has been hired for the Rey movie. And Daisy Ridley did go ahead and put this out officially today on her Instagram. Daisy Ridley's Star Wars movie enlist writer George Nolfi, exclusive. So he's done Ocean's 12, which I wasn't a huge fan of. He also did Bourne Ultimatum, which I did like those first 3 James Bourne movies or Jason Bourne movies. But yes, they're going back at it once again to try to make the Rey movie work. Rumored to be about 15 years after what we saw in the sequel trilogy starring Daisy Ridley's Rey as a Jedi Master. Jeremy, are you excited for this?
I'm excited to make content out of this because this is going to be a shit show. I don't think that this movie is going to do well. It's already in production hell just from the fact that is this the 4th writer now? The 4th writer we've had?
Well, technically, but in reality, so the first one was Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson together. They were like working together on one.
Okay.
And to be honest, that was supposed to be an old Rey, like a 70-year-old Rey Skywalker. So it's tough to even kind of count that, but they still wanted to make something surrounding Rey. Then when they announced that Daisy Ridley and Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy were there, that's when they announced Stephen Knight from Peaky Blinders. He worked on it for about a year. Nothing happened, left the project. Now here we are a few months later, and George Nolfi is the new guy. So technically 4 people have been attached to a Rey movie, really 3 writing teams.
Three writing teams, yeah. So this seems like it's going to be a big problem for them. They have no real vision of what they're wanting to do here. It's typical Lucasfilm. So we've got our activist director who's still on board. We now have our third writing team. And you have a character that no one actually cares about. No one cares about Rey. Nobody. Now, there was once upon a time where I thought Rey had a lot of potential after The Force Awakens, depending on what direction they were going to take it. This character is so irrelevant that I don't see how this movie does anything beyond maybe like an Ant-Man movie in the Marvel Cinematic. I don't know how this movie makes $500 million. I really don't. And do we have a rumored budget on this movie?
We don't
know.
We
don't have anything.
Obviously,
it's
not even
this movie
supposed to be in production.
I think this movie has the potential to be the biggest flop in Disney Star Wars history over even Solo. And Solo, by the way, lost money. Now, will this one lose money per se? I'm just about in terms of overall. What did Solo do at the box office? 300 million, something like
350, something like that, right?
I think this could potentially do less than Solo.
Will it cost as much as Solo? I guess
that will be the question.
Yeah,
but yeah, just in terms of the overall interest, there's nobody interested in this. Kylo Ren is dead, so is she gonna run around with this fucking Force Ghost or some bullshit?
Actually, made almost 400 million, so 393 million.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think that this movie is going to be successful at all. I think it's going to be a massive flop and a massive slap in the face, and it will finally show that all of the fans that have been telling you that Disney has completely destroyed all of the goodwill that they had with the Star Wars fan base, this will show that. So Force Awakens, $2 billion all the way down to whatever this is going to make, and it's going to be a glaring example of how bad things are.
Yeah, and I did just like when we first got the news that the release schedule had changed, it wasn't on the release schedule. Obviously, there was no way it was going to make a 2026 release date if nothing had been written yet. A lot of people said, oh, it's canceled. This is one thing that they're going to try their damnedest not to cancel. Okay? Not to say that won't happen in some. We see a lot of Star Wars, but that happened to a lot of Star Wars projects. But if you think that Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, the activist, feminist, person of color director who made such a big deal about all this, if you think she's going to go quietly into the good night, if something like that were happen, I think you'd be mistaken. So I think this is something that they actively, Kathleen Kennedy and the activists at Lucasfilm, they desperately want this to happen. I don't think they're going to stop trying like some of these other projects that we've seen in the past. It's kind of always been my opinion on it, and here we are. They haven't given up on it yet.
Yeah,
It would be a good decision too.
I think that this is going to be a big problem for them. I think the best route for them would be to cancel it. I know that would create a lot of controversy for them, but I think that canceling this would be better than them releasing this piece of shit and it coming out and flopping, because that's what I think is going to happen.